When we learn to listen, our lives becomes easier and profoundly more fulfilling. It's with great pleasure I like to introduce the author and a counselor, Mrs. Phoebe Hutchinson, who has written a book titled, Are You Listening? Life is Talking to You. Good morning and welcome to our program.
Good morning, Derek.
Phoebe, a fair few years ago, you wrote a book titled Honeymooners Forever. We got a very, very good response, and let me congratulate you once again.
Thank you.
Now, this book, you took nearly 5 years to write this book.
I did.
What was the main reason for that quite big delay?
I really wanted to research the subject while my goal was to really create the book. I thought I'd found very simple ways to live and to achieve our goals and become happy. But I really wanted to search wide. So I started looking into quantum physics, psychology, counselling, business, finances, many ways to really pull together a really great strategy, which is now working amazingly well with depression and anxiety.
Okay. Now, talking about depression, what sort of advice can you give our viewers about depression?
Well, I think advice, I would certainly recommend if anyone has depression that they do see a doctor, they get help. And I also recommend, of course the doctor would recommend normally antidepressants. I think that's an essential part of getting help with depression. I also think people need to go beyond just the medication and actually look into seeing the psychologist. In Australia there's a mental health plan. So I recommend people follow through with seeing a psychologist and certainly seeing counsellors. I think that what can happen with depression is many people can look at it like a mental illness and then just sit back and accept that that's their reality in life. When I see people with depression, I look at it very holistically and I look at their life and I give specific strategies for the specific areas and the problems they're going through, and it's working really fast.
Mm-hmm. Have you got a trade secret where your clients are getting cured very easily and quickly?
I would definitely say that the secret that I'm using is from Are You Listening? Life is Talking to You, and it's the crisis wheel. And I created the crisis wheel as a tool to use for clients who are in crisis to be able to holistically look at their life. And what I do is I ask 8 questions and I go through that and then give the therapies in accordance with those areas. I can tell you a little bit about those areas if you like. The first one I look at is I ask someone, and if there's any viewers out there that may be struggling with depression, I'd recommend they ask themselves these 8 questions. The first one is, are your thoughts predominantly positive or negative? And what I do when I'm looking and going through this is give yourself a tick or a cross, or a tick and a cross. Mm-hmm. Okay? The second question I ask is, how is your self-esteem? Now, some people will have trouble with that question, so what I say is, how do you see yourself as a person? How do you see yourself as someone at work, as a husband, as a wife, as a sister, as a brother, as a part of the community? Overall, is it a good response, how you see yourself, or is it negative? And the third question is, do you have any unresolved past grief or loss or trauma, things that you may have gone through that you may not have resolved, that may be causing you to continually look back and not be present? I find that when I'm talking to people who have depression and who have anxiety and people that aren't coping, particularly people with depression, I find a very strong link with this past unresolved grief. And as myself being a grief counsellor, and of course in the book I give strategies to help people resolve their grief. It's very, very important. The next thing in the crisis wheel, and the fourth question, is about emotions. I ask, how are your emotions? Are they predominantly positive or negative? Mm-hmm. Which is really good to just think about that for a moment. And that's also an area that I give tools for in the book, our emotions. And the next is brain chemistry. Now obviously I can't open up your brain and have a look, but everyone does know or is led to believe, and what we're told is that depression is an imbalance of brain chemistry, the neurotransmitters, and certainly not enough serotonin and dopamine. So this really needs to be looked at. And of course there's cortisol, which is a stress hormone that's running around our body, and so forth. So what I say to people in terms of the brain chemistry is I say, Are you exercising? This is absolutely paramount to helping people improve their brain chemistry, because when you're doing the exercise, as I just discussed, you're increasing serotonin, dopamine, which are key in depression. You're also increasing cortisol throughout your body, which is fantastic. You're reducing cortisol in your body, which is great.
Yeah.
And you are increasing your endorphins, which is your I guess nature's way to make you emotionally resilient. So this brain chemistry question is, are you exercising? Are you eating well and healthy? Are you sleeping well? So really trying to find out from the outside, are you doing everything you can to help your brain chemistry? Now what I find too is that some people who have taken drugs have a little bit more of an issue, and people who are constantly using drugs, let's say for instance marijuana, they've got that delayed serotonin and dopamine uptake, which can be harder. It's still possible to help these people, but that's a factor as well. So we've talked about the brain chemistry. Now the next thing is really important, which is support networks. This is something that's so important with fighting depression. How is the person going? Have they got good quality friends? Is their marriage or their relationship working out well? Are they being treated well in their family environment? Many people with depression are oppressed, whether it's at work, whether it's in their relationships. So assertiveness training is something that I certainly talk about in the book, and that I'd recommend with people that are having depression. So it's really key that people are supported, people have people to talk to. People don't need a lot, but they certainly need good quality friends. And when I'm talking to men, it's not about having a lot of men they can go out and have big long chats with. It's just about, I say to men, have you got people you can just go and stand in front of a fire and have a beer and just, you know, really just relax. Men need to be with men. I see many men who are in relationships and for some reason have just really stopped socialising and they've shut themselves off. So socialising and having great relationships is very key, and I find that's a common link, as I was saying before, the link with the certainly with the past trauma being unresolved, and of course now with the relationships. That's very, very common in depression. So I work with helping people with grief, and I talk about that in the book, helping people with relationships. And then of course after relationships is passion. I have one client who I believe would not be alive if it weren't for his passion. When I did the crisis wheel with him, the tick and the cross to see how he was going with each area, the only area that he had going well was his passion. So every area he was really drowning in, and of course he was having suicidal thinking. So that passion kept him alive. So I really just would love to emphasise the importance of passion, and that is, if there's anything that we're interested in, you know, whether it be, you know, going out there and joining a group or playing tennis, it's my passion at the moment, whatever it is that we do that we get totally interested in and totally love, that's so super important. And the last question, of course the eighth question is lifestyle. So many people out there are feeling oppressed by finances and struggling with their money and having really negative attitudes to money, and of course work, or what you do during the day. So if you're not happy doing what you're doing during the day, then that's going to contribute to depression. So I talk about that, and I talk about time management and lots of wonderful things in the book, but certainly about money and having a different relationship with money than most people have.
I had a good read, and
Thank you.
will you be able to share about anxiety with our viewers?
Yes, I certainly can. With anxiety, I find it's very similar to depression as far as one area, and that is the area of trauma, grief and loss that's not resolved. When I actually had quite a lot of experience with anxiety groups here, very large ones in Victoria and in Ireland, and writing articles, and many of these Facebook members were actually contacting me and asking me for help, and I was getting a real glimpse into inside the life of someone with anxiety, and I was seeing common features, but I did see that common element of certainly things that had happened in these people's lives that had affected them and impacted them and that weren't resolved and had changed their subconscious. And from that place, from their subconscious mind being darkened, they all of a sudden start feeling not safe about life. Whether it's, you know, agoraphobia, whatever's going on for them, it's really spiralling out of control from this unresolved grief, and then of course that's going to the subconscious, and that's creating in their mind a framework of uncertainty, which can lead to many bodily problems, from blurred vision, you know, racing heartbeat, and so forth. So it's really, I feel that there's a dysfunction happening in the life, and there's certainly unresolved issues that are contributing to the signs.
Chi, I could sit and talk to you for hours
Thank
because
you.
there were so many good topics when I had a good read. Now, I got to again congratulate you for you to get one of the big publishers, Hay House, to take your book on board and give you that break.
Thank you so much. I absolutely love Hay House. From many, many years ago, I totally admired Louise Hay, who founded Hay House. And Hay House is the biggest self-help publishing company in the world. And I'm with Balboa, which is a beautiful part of Hay House. So it's really wonderful to be a part of that family. And I'm very, very proud to be part of the Hay House family.
Okay. Now, who is this book for?
Well, as we've already discussed, it's certainly for people with depression and anxiety, but beyond that, this is for anyone that's struggling with life, anyone who is in crisis. This could be a teenager being bullied at school. This could be someone who's been divorced and feels like they've lost everything. This could be for someone who's lost a child. So it's for anyone who's struggling, because there are so many things in this book to help people. I've tried to make it pretty much covering everything so that someone can grab this book and use it. And as I've said with my clients with depression, just one final note, I had one client who came to see me and came back the next week. He'd read 160 pages and he was a transformed man, and I was just blown away. So I'm constantly blown away by the changes, and I consider them to be miraculous, what I'm seeing at my counselling practice with readers.
If any of our viewers want to get one of your fantastic books, how can they purchase them?
They can purchase it from www.areyoulistening.com.au, or certainly Google it, and there's certainly ebooks available on that website and books at a discounted rate.
Thank you, Phoebe. It's been very interesting talking to you.
Thank you.
And let me wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And when you publish another book, please come and see us, and we'll love to see the response from our viewers.
I certainly will.
Thank
Thanks.
you.